Welcome to PLZ Soccer and the football show on a Wednesday. I'm delighted to say that Scott Allen, Ryan McGowan and Tam McManus are here with me. Slightly delayed, but nevertheless we got there in the end, possibly because everybody was waxing lyrical about the football that they witnessed over the last 24 hours. We're going to talk about Celtic against RB Leipzig. We'll look ahead to Rangers in Greece against Olympiacos, Hearts at home to Heidenheim, and we'll be asking the question, can Liverpool win the EPL in Arne Slot's first season in charge? Lots to talk about, and with you if you want to give us your insight into what you made of last night as well. Ryan, you're always the man who likes to put a good tackle in early on. Give us your take on what you witnessed.
I thought they were exceptional last night. I think it was a real statement win in Champions League for Celtic. I think they dominated. They maybe had 10-15 minutes where they were a little bit wobbly, but after that I thought that they thoroughly dominated the game. They were good in possession. They carried a goal threat all across the pitch, and I think there will be not many teams in the Champions League who will be fancying coming to Celtic playing when they're playing like that.
Yeah, how did they get it so right, Scott?
Just for me, it was the maturity of the performance. I think going 2-1 up and at half time coming out, obviously you know how important the next goal is. I thought Cal McGregor especially in that midfield role for Celtic just breathed a calmness throughout the team, and when you've got that quality in the forward areas, you're always a threat on the when you're in possession of the ball. So I just felt it was a complete performance for Celtic. Nicholas Coutin, the standout for me, and I think he's got a few more gears to go up, and I think that'll be something the Celtic fans will be absolutely delighted about, because it was a slow starting in Glasgow for him, but the influence he's had in the games and this season has been outstanding for me.
Well, if anything, I mean, Brendan Rodgers himself was quick to praise the courage of the team. He says it wasn't just the result, it was the performance. We played the game with great charisma and confidence and showed the courage in our pressing to play at that level. That's definitely the best one for him as far as European performances are concerned. No surprise he said that.
No, I thought it was one of the best performances I've seen from Celtic since Martin O'Neill. So early 2000s, I think Juventus at home 4-3 was the game I can remember where Celtic were excellent. I just thought every aspect of the game last night, Celtic were superb. Off the ball, on the ball, they've learned lessons from the Dortmund game. I think the performance in Atlanta's gave the team confidence to be dogged and be defensive when you have to, but still play attacking football when it's on. So I thought it was a complete performance. Nicholas Coutin was the best player on the pitch. What a difference from last season. I think when he first came in, he didn't look fit. There's something wrong with him. I see that.
A dental problem.
Yeah, there's something wrong with his teeth or root canal. So I'm glad they got to the root of the problem.
Yeah, and that's really probably why we didn't come on air so early, because obviously the computer can sense when somebody's going to come out with minging patter. The one thing about it is, you mentioned Kuhn. Was there anybody else? The one thing that we were talking about, and you and I have a ding-dong battle about it, but the manager changed his tactics as he moved on. An absolute doing against Borussia Dortmund. And by the way, fair play to him, because, as he was brought back, he's been relentlessly dominating domestic football first time around. Second time around, he comes back under a cloud. People are thinking, okay, what's he going to do? Is he going to come back and make Celtic better in Europe? Which I think everybody was of the belief that that's why he was brought back. So when you get a doing, you think, well, is he learning any lessons? But he is learning lessons, because the team played really defensively and well compact against Atalanta, and then suddenly you're back at home again against, this is a top drawer Bundesliga side.
Yeah, I think they dominated them. What I was really impressed in was the way that they just kept passing the ball, and they looked like what good European teams do to sort of, not the second tier type Champions League, but totally. They looked a proper team last night. And if you're a Celtic fan, you would have just been amazed. I'm not a Celtic fan. I was watching it and I was impressed. Just the way that the movement, they just seemed all to be on the same page. When they lost the ball, there was a real desire to get it back. I thought their pressing was exceptional from the front three in the midfield. And again, it's sort of, we keep talking about Callum McGregor, but he's so important to that team. And I think it was just before the third goal. He's getting pressed, he's getting hurried. just has that calmness on the ball. They pass it out, and I think it's 5 or 6 passes later, they're scoring goals, and that's what you want. And I think it's a wonderful time to be a Celtic fan if you're going to watch that type of football week in, week out.
Yeah, the key to it all, though, is, you have in Champions League matches and European matches in general, Tam, you have those little phases where you're going to go through a rough patch. The opposition are going to test you. And when Leipzig scored, there was a sense inside the stadium of, is this going to be 2 and 3? Because I certainly thought Leipzig were going to win the match.
Yeah, listen, I think when you look at the league table, I think you look at the Bundesliga table, they're sitting second at the moment, and they lost their first game at the weekend to Dortmund.
5 goals.
They've only conceded 5 goals in 8 or 9 games, which is fantastic in the Bundesliga, where there is usually lots of goals. So listen, they've got a lot of quality. The £40 million striker up front, who didn't do much, but they've spent a lot of money in that team. They are a bona fide Champions League team, and I thought that when Celtic lost the goal, Leipzig had a wee 15-20 minute spell in that where they started getting toppy. Celtic, they missed another good chance from a set piece. I think they targeted Celtic at set plays. They missed another good chance for 2, and Celtic weathered the storm, got the goal, and then getting the goal just at the right time before half time, coming out the second half, and then completely dominating the game for me. And Ryan's right. That's we're used to seeing teams coming to Celtic Park and Ibrox and playing like that, possession football. Very comfortable in the ball. But Celtic looked like a proper European team last night. They didn't kick it and lump it long. They played out under pressure, and I just thought that it was a fantastic performance from Celtic, and one that they can take massive confidence into 2 winnable, 3 winnable games probably before they play Aston Villa in the last game.
Yeah, I mean, on that basis, Ryan was talking about the passing. Possession is king at times. You give it away, and these teams suddenly are on your 18-yard box, and you're in big trouble. And at that period where they lost a wee grip of the game after Leipzig had basically weathered the 20 minutes of Celtic at the start, and then slowly but surely started to get into it, you actually started to fear from them. Set pieces, they were whipping the ball in under the bar, goalkeeper and all sorts, could have had a second goal. But then, in a mindset of a man, it must be the manager who's basically said to them, and I think this is where the argument with you and I, he's constantly saying to them, okay, we're going to keep it tight, we're going to learn the lessons of Atalanta, but what we want you to do is try and bravely play the ball forward. I mean, I was at Easter Road at the weekend for Hibs against Dundee United, and the amount of times you see players who just will not be brave, Scott, going forward. They play the ball back the way. They go for that easy side option. Yeah. Celtic didn't do that.
No, but I think that's because they have a manager on the pitch in terms of Callum McGregor. When they did manage to ride the storm that Leipzig had put on them after the goal, he was a guy that showed the composure, the calmness, instead of maybe rushing it forward like they would do. And it's dead easy to do when you have that pace up front. They took the extra pass, which allowed them as a team to get up the pitch and then create from there. Comes for the first goal, ball into Engels round the corner. 9 times out of 10, see the guy who plays the pass that Engels does, he stands still. But because he bombs on after it, he makes the space for Kuhn to come inside. The inside centre back doesn't know what to do with that, creates a gap, and Kuhn gets goals from passing forward, running forward, unselfishness, and that gets him back in the game. I think there was 3 or 4 ridiculous good passes from Celtic players in that game. I think Bernardo had one, Hatate, Kuhn's one where it was top draw passes. If
outside of the boot.
There was like Scots at Ibrox.
Nearly as good as that.
Maida should score there. I mean, it's
he should. He should
have to check his stride.
But at that level, there was 3 or 4 world class passes, and that's before you even get to Hatate playing the wee reverse one, weighted lovely for Greg Taylor. But that you don't get that if you don't get the counter press. 5 Celtic players round the ball on it, and because they've won the ball all close together, they be 5-yard, 10-yard passes are on, and then it's about execution. And they get finishes, and listen, as Ryan says, as if you're a Celtic fan just now, they'll be fighting over tickets to go and watch them because the football's outstanding.
Do you know what I noticed about Celtic as well, Peter? How fit they were. Yeah. The energy levels, the fitness levels.
Physically better than them.
Physically, German teams you would associate with being really fit and strong and powerful, and and going to the end and playing at high tempo. I thought Celtic ran over the top of them in the second half. I thought fitness-wise,
they were
too much
up.
Pace. They were blown. The last 10-15 minutes, Celtic could have scored another 2 or 3. Just they went, and So the fitness levels, you know, to play at that tempo, Celtic for 95 minutes. Now they've got strength and depth. You've seen the subs coming on. They're bringing decent players on. I said it for the start.
Better than decent, Tim.
Aye, they're bringing good players on. And I said it at the start of the season. Last season they couldn't do that. 60, 70 minutes they were bringing inferior players on. Now they're bringing guys on who are just as good as the ones that are playing. And that's why you're getting now a 90, 95 minute complete performance.
Yeah, and of course the other good thing about it was when Kuhn scores the goal, there's none of this Andy Halliday nonsense. He's like, look at him taking a wee step. Because we're having a go at your best mate. But Kuhn runs over to him, where the Leipzig fans are, and it's up in the air. Listen, I mean the joy of it. Did he mean it? I say yes. He says yes. I couldn't believe the commentary they were thinking about a cross. I thought he meant it.
I think it's one of those ones. It's a cross-come shot, isn't it? He's aiming for the back post, and I think he did one maybe 10 minutes before, and I think it went out for a corner. The defender cleared it for a corner, and it was on a similar sort of trajectory. But yeah, I definitely think a player of that quality, when he's cutting in, he's definitely going for the. If it goes in, he's shooting, and if someone nods it in, it was a cross. But I think the other thing about Celtic that gets missed is the amount of unselfish running that the forward players do. It's like Johnson as well. As soon as the ball goes out wide, he just sprints down, makes a run. He probably knows 9 times out of 10 he's not going to get it, but it just moves the opposition defenders, and that was probably one of the most impressive things that I've seen is that movement off the ball.
And as a professional footballer, at your peak, when you were younger and you're playing for Hearts, I'm deadly serious on this. Is it a case of, is that a message and an ethos from the manager to the players? Were you in a situation, I'm talking about when you were at the top of your game, where you thought, right, this is the runs that the manager wants me to play, I'm going to play them because I'm as fit as a fiddle?
Yeah, probably. I used to play with maybe behind Scatchell or Templeton or someone, and I was a decoy runner. I knew that I was a decoy. I would go on the overlap, probably not wanting the ball, but more to try and give them space, drag the full back out, drag the centre back out, and I think that's what Celtic do really well. Problem is that they're much, Johnson's miles better than what I am. So when he does get the ball in the final third, he can pick somebody out. But I just think overall they all know exactly what they need to do, and we've all been in teams when you're being successful and you're getting results, you don't mind it. It's what
I think the key thing in that, and Ryan will tell you, when you're in a team where 8 times out of 10 you make the run, you've got a chance of getting the ball and you kind of control possession, it's easier to make the runs. Yeah. If he's playing in front of me and I give the ball away 5 times and he's having to sprint the whole way back,
stop making the run.
Yeah, stop making the run. Yeah. So it's the whole overall game structure that they have allows players to take a risk. They've got obviously the set up behind the ball, and he knows if Ryan's going and I'm trying to find him, he goes, I've got a chance to get in here, and I feel that Celtic have that all over the pitch.
And again, I don't want to. I'm going to read out a few messages first, and then I want to talk to you about the players individually and collectively, because it was such a great performance, and there's so much to talk about today, because obviously we're hoping that the Scottish clubs can continue in that vein throughout the rest of the week, and then there's back to the Scottish Premiership. William Smith says the passing was amazing from Celtic. Callum was superb, says Jeff. Hatate and Kuhn head and shoulders above the rest, says Tone. And Brian says, as I've said previously, Rodgers has quietly and effectively changed style and tactics in Europe, quietly drowning out the outside noise. Callum, Xavi and Rio Iniesta were outstanding, says Pretty Polly. I mean,
he must still be out.
I think Pretty Polly's in Pat Nevin mode from last night. I was listening to Pat Nevin and I thought to myself, oh my God, this is Real Madrid from 1960 he's talking about. But Celtic were absolutely outstanding last night, says Stephen Kennedy. Proud to call myself a Celtic fan. And they made, the right back at Leipzig look bang average. It could have been 4 or 5-1 to Celtic with the chances that we missed, says Stephen. Callum McGregor was the metronome that kept the game at the level we needed to allow Kuhn and Hatate to shine, says John Clements. Every player played his part and Celtic were absolutely brilliant. And Celt88 says, Kuhn said scoring against his old team made it even better in the post-match. That's the difference from a top footballer. There's more than.
Why are you laughing, Peter?
Well, I'm laughing.
Who's that aimed at?
I'm laughing because he says I can only say rather than Joey Barton's boot boy. So he's had a go, but sometimes we read things out. Frank Kennedy says it was a fantastic performance. We shut a lot of mouths. I take a little bit of an issue with that, what Frank says there, because it's not a case of shutting people's mouths. What you do, pundits, journalists, fans, you look at the here and now of a game that you're going to, that you've shelled out a lot of money for, and the last thing you want is a 7-1 hiding when you've spent a lot of money. So they got criticism. The manager got a lot of criticism as well. But in the end, you're criticising them for the performance and the mistakes they made, but you're then making an observation to say, well, he's been thumped like that before. This is another one. Is he going to change going to Atalanta? We were all on this programme asking that question, and he did. Suddenly Celtic produced a defensive performance that might have been alien to them at times in domestic situations, but they did produce it. And then all of a sudden, off the back of Slovan Bratislava at home, suddenly you have a situation where they do it again. And the other thing which we have to emphasise, and the reason why so many people, including ourselves, are waxing lyrical about it, Tam, is this team are 3 points behind Bayern Munich, second in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, they're a top team, Peter, there's no doubt about that. You see some of the money that they spent in the summer. The players have got in their team, all international players, very, very strong side. But I agree. I think that Celtic, I think the game in Atlanta really gave them confidence to go into the next games. Celtic should not be getting beat 7-1 off anybody in the Champions League. They shouldn't. So they've looked at that in depth, and there's a doggedness about them defensively. They're throwing their bodies into challenges. They're getting back behind the ball. They're pressing the ball when they lose the ball. I think it's so much better. And Brendan's always said they're going to be learning on the job. They're going to get better as the games go on, and he's been right. I think that they have been, but I think that Celtic deservedly got criticised in Dortmund, because you look at the performance last night, and a team that's round about probably similar level to Dortmund, and you cannot be going to Dortmund and losing 7 goals. So I don't think that will happen with Celtic again. I think that they now have a way of playing, and I think when they go to Aston Villa in the last game, I think you'll see something similar to the Atlanta performance, where they sit in their compact, they're tight, and then they try and hit with the pace and the counter-attack, which is something that we've probably said on the show that the Celtic should be playing, and they've done that at times last night. They sat in, were compact, and then a couple of passes, bang, bang, it was out to the winger, and then there was 4 or 5 bodies flying up to get in support. So I think when Celtic play like that, they look a very dangerous team in Europe.
With regards to the players, though, Ryan, you would know in particular, you referenced Alistair Johnston, Hatate, Kuhn, McGregor. At times we always compliment Daisen Maeda, but those 4 or 5 players seem to be the real linchpins of any star performances that come out.
Yeah.
And, at times Kyogo, but those 4 certainly are catching people's eye, and they're talking about them regularly.
I think they've got a really good understanding. Down that right-hand side, I feel like Johnson, especially, having played fullback before, he will know, like what Scotty said, when he passes it up there, he knows he can make that run, because I think he's had a crazy amount of assists already this season from getting slid in and then being able to whip it across the box. He knows he's got that ball into, whether it's Hatate or Callum McGregor. It's a really good situation to be in as a fullback, when you can give it to your wide player who can go on and beat a player and give it to you. You've got 2 or 3 midfielders who are showing. You've also got Carter Vickers next to you. You've got so many options that it's almost up to you to pick the right one, and 9 times out of 10 they are picking the right passes, and like I said earlier, they're just a really, really good watch.
Yeah, and those players are shining on a regular basis, Scott. You look at the Aberdeen game, Maeda scores a hat-trick, and then everybody's talking about, I think you probably more than anyone realise the value of McGregor. Comes short in a tight situation, doesn't panic, as Ryan alluded to, but then can pick a pass that suddenly opens the game out.
Listen, I think before we get to that point, when we're talking about learning lessons, the 2 asterisks were Borussia Dortmund and Aberdeen at home. They've wiped the floor with Aberdeen at the weekend. They've brought it into Tuesday night. And that was the same as last when we went to Dortmund. They destroyed St Johnstone. So you had that wee, like you says, you weren't that confident going into last night. But Callum McGregor in there, the linchpin, as you say, guys who want the ball in front of him as well, and guys who want the ball in front of him with some real quality. Guys up front who run in behind, guys who bring people in, spin them. The Celtic have got the balance of the team and the options they have all over the pitch. It's, for a midfielder, for Callum, it's an absolute dream. And they haven't had, this is the best squad Celtic have had in a long, long time for me. And Brendan Rodgers is, listen, I think this is just the start. I think there's more to come for this Celtic team. Last night wasn't an accident for me.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I think sometimes, you know, people have to keep a lid on things, Tam. I don't want to in any way quash the excitement, I think the joy that the Celtic fans witnessed last night on it. But Bruges and Young Boys are certainly two winnable home games. Zagreb, they won their match 4-1 last night, and then you've got Aston Villa to come. They reckon it's about 16 points might get you into the top 8, maybe more, but you're definitely going to qualify to get into a playoff match, you know. So suddenly you're saying to yourself, with Celtic, 7 points from 4 games, you know, if they could get those 2 wins, you know, you're in a great place for a qualification game. And of course, with these wins comes vast amounts of money.
Yeah, I think that Celtic are massive odds on now to finish at least in a playoff position. I think that they'll be targeting more than that now with the points they've got on the board. I think that the 2 games you mentioned at home, you know, Bruges at home, Young Boys at home, if Celtic play like that, they'll win both games. You know, there's no guarantee they're going to play like that, but if they turn up and play the way they played last night, they will beat those 2 teams. You've got Zagreb away, who have recovered from a horrific start, 9-2, I think, to Bayern Munich, and they've got some decent results. They're a decent outfit. I think Celtic will go over there and again be dogged and try and at least get a point. And then if it comes down to the Aston Villa game away from home, you might get down into that with a kind of free hit. You know, you might be in the top 24, whatever it is, and you've guaranteed a playoff spot, but you've got a wee sniff to get into the top 8. So I think with the games that Celtic have got, it's not beyond them to pick up another 7 points from the next 4 games and end up in 14 points, which, you know, might be round about where, you know, the top 8 is.
And that's really where I think Celtic wanted to be in this, because I think the general consensus, Ryan, was it's a good group for them. Mm-hmm. There's a chance in this new format to actually get a qualifying game, get a playoff game.
I think Celtic, the way that they played last night, they shouldn't really fear anyone. You know, talking about Zagreb away, if Celtic play like they did last night in Zagreb away, they'll probably win that game. They were that good last night against such a... I think everyone's thinking that, you know, Leipzig weren't that good. They are a very, very good team, and Celtic made them look bang average. And that's not from, you know, like we've said before, sitting in and playing on the counter-attack. Yeah. They completely dominated them in footballing terms, in work rate, in every department. They just wiped the floor with them, and I think if they can replicate that at European level, then I think there's no questions that they'll beat Bruges at home, Young Boys at home, Zagreb away. And
that gives you 16 points going into the Villa game.
Yeah, and that would give you, I think it'll be a wee bit more for the top 8. The top 8 is probably...
No, 16 of top 8.
I think it might be a wee bit more to get in that top 8.
See, to deliver the 2 type of performances in a semi-final, the domestic cup against Aberdeen, who have been flying, and then back it up on the Tuesday night, like nobody's even spoke about the actual fact they've done that back to back. Like I think there's still more to come. That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
I don't think
these results will give them confidence. They'll be going into
more and more confidence.
Yeah. If they drew last night, they'll be going into Bruges thinking, like hopefully we can do it. Now they know what it takes to beat a good quality team. They know exactly how to play. And I really do think they'll win those 3 games.
That's why I love having you 2 on, because if Tam and I get into the car and we said to you, look, we're going to Blackpool, we're going down for the weekend, it's just us 4, you 2 would be bouncing in the back of the car, super excited, and we'd go, look, it's just a couple of days, calm down. You two look as if you're about to spontaneously combust. My only point on this, and this is just basically trying to put a sense of perspective on it, is quite simply that the bonus is that we've all looked at what Celtic are doing, and I thought they were absolutely magnificent last night, but trying to replicate that, trying to make sure that there's no complacency. I think Brendan Rodgers will be on their case, saying, you know, young boys, Bruges, do not take this for granted. Try and get these points. I'm looking at it and thinking, you know, we talked about 60 million could be there for them in revenue that they're going to be able to bank. But remember, this Villa game is in January, and the window will be open then. And I wonder, as Brendan looks at a January transfer window and thinks to himself, well, listen, what do you want here? You know, can we...
Maybe some player to get in that...
I was going to say, no, but can you push the boat out? Well, this is where I'm going to put a slight dampener on it. I still think they need... I still think, if it was me, I'd be looking at it and saying, yeah, great flair. If I was chapping Dermot Desmond's door, I'd say, give me 2 players.
What positions?
Give me a centre half. And
Trustee's playing there?
Yeah, I know Trustee's playing there, but Carter Vickers has not had a lot of appearances in the European games, picking up injuries. Give me a centre half and a striker to make it a situation where suddenly you've got somebody who can come on and change the game.
I don't think Celtic need anything, Peter.
You don't think they need anything?
No.
Wow.
I think they maybe, honestly...
Not even from a position of strength. That's the motto of many a manager. You're going to play...
The position of strength is their group at this moment in time.
Yeah, but if they qualify for a knockout, surely the position of strength is saying to itself, wait a minute, could we exceed expectations? And that's the point I'm
saying. Now you're going to spectacular.
No, but what I'm saying to you, only if you got 2 players. You know, you'd be sitting there and you say to yourself, fans do that. You go to the pub, you drink a beer and you go, is this side at the moment? That football last night was a joy. But
possibly a centre half, Peter.
Yeah?
I don't think a striker. You've got £9 million guy that can't get in the team at the minute. So possibly a centre half just for cover for Carter Vickers, as he is a little bit injury prone.
So you say one.
Probably one a centre half.
I just think he'll look at it and he'll say to himself, Bruges is a winnable game, Young Boys is a winnable game, Zagreb,
they don't need to hit the
maybe
heights.
nick a point.
They don't need to hit the heights of last night for me to beat Bruges or Young Boys at home.
I don't think
it has to be that good.
No?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Wow.
I don't think they two are close to Leipzig.
I think what Brendan...
Good sides and they'll respect them, but I think what they hit last night was of a high level.
Yeah, I think he's looking and saying to himself, can the team get better and better and better? I think he's pushing them all the time.
Like what Tom said, you got a £9 million striker. You're probably looking at the 20 mark.
I know that
they go spend a 20 million.
Group.
You don't think they need any either?
Not at this moment, no.
No.
And it's the bracket you're looking at to affect the team and
you're probably
keep the harmony in the group.
Going to spend 20 million.
Maida can play through the middle if you're really toiling.
So you think good enough to get through this group into the playoff game?
Give ourselves some chance.
Yeah.
The 3 games are winnable, all winnable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Burns. I wonder if that's your actual name, Thomas. A dampener on it, Peter. Surprise. No, it's not a dampener. I don't know how much more positive we can be. We've just said they were magnificent for 25 minutes. But you know.
Possibly a left back if Val goes back. There's rumours about him going back to Barcelona.
Yeah.
I don't know how much truth is in that, but certainly if he goes back, and I like the look of him, I think he might oust Taylor. If he goes back, you're obviously needing a left back as well. Yeah,
I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's many, and listen, it's only an opinion. I always think you get to that point of, that was brilliant last night. I mean, I was sitting watching it thinking, listen, you can spin it any way you want, but when you can't let your eyes deceive you. When they scored, they'd already soaked up the first 20 minutes of Celtic in the charge of the Light Brigade. They'd done that. They scored, and I don't know if you remember, but they had a second corner where the guy gets a free header and it just goes past the post. And you're saying, in every game you need that wee bit of luck. So they rode that out. They were a shaky 15 minutes.
Dampener on it.
And then they just went on to another level. I mean, it was one of those games where you're sitting saying to yourself, bloody hell, man, look at the passes, look at the speed, look at the closing down. It was great. It was great to watch. But that led me to believe, when somebody's talking about, I'm joking about Pat Nevin. I was driving in the car at one point, and Pat Nevin's giving it. This is they're unbelievable. They're better than Leipzig. I thought, oh come on, get a grip. But
you know what though? That's how good the football was.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is how good the football was.
Like they had the result against Barcelona, but I think they had, was it crazy, like
11%.
Yes, absolutely.
If you played that game,
That's what I mean. It wasn't an accident last night that Celtic won like that. That was all stuff that's been coming.
Well, listen, it was positive. We've been positive. Give us your opinion on this. We'd love to hear what you've got to say on it. It was just a superb performance from Celtic. Is there more to come? Certainly on the evidence of what Scott has mentioned there, he thinks there's a lot more to come from them. Let's quickly get a look at the news headlines.
Hi there, I'm Kerry, and here is your daily news update on Wednesday the 6th of November, brought to you by Arnold Clark. Rangers head to Athens today to take on Olympiacos in the Europa League tomorrow evening, just 3 days before hosting Hearts on Sunday. But Philippe Clement says that's the life of a player at a club like Rangers.
So we need to play a really big game there to get points. It's a really tough opponent. But that's the good thing that the players digged in today, so they need to dig in on Thursday again and on Sunday again. And that's the life at Rangers, every time.
After suffering their third defeat in a row to Sporting Lisbon last night, Man City boss Pep Guardiola maintains his side are not in a bad place.
We are not in the dark side. We played really bad against Bournemouth. We played really good today. The only regret we couldn't concede the third or fourth. You have to, it's not necessary, the penalties. I would say, we cannot start the second half scoring a goal. Yeah, it can happen. They do the good action, can happen, but 44 minutes or 47 minutes left. And emotionally, we were in that position stable. I think we make a really good first half against a top team.
And finally, Celtic were victorious over RB Leipzig in the Champions League last night at Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers maintains there's still a lot of work to be done if his side want to make it through to the knockout stages. For all the latest breaking headlines, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. And don't forget to download our app, which is available on Google Play and the App Store.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry. A lot of good results last night. A lot of surprise results as well. I like the new format, do you?
Love it.
Yeah,
A lot more upsets, isn't there?
Yeah.
A lot more upsets rather than
Madrid
just the
are
two top
struggling.
seeds going through.
Well, who would have thought
Madrid
Milan
are
were going
struggling.
to go in the Bernabeu
Madrid are toiling, man.
and win that game? And of course, over and above that, Sporting Lisbon, Ryan, 4-1.
no one's seen that coming, I don't think.
And City dominated for long
Hammer and ball.
periods in it.
Hammer and ball.
Hammer and ball, yeah. I was United fans. United, I know, he's just, you know what you are. You are Mr. Cheesefest, you really are.
He's a loser.
Man U fans will be buzzing.
City
They've
have
just
been on a bad
part
run
of Man
as
City.
well.
He's coming into Man
City
United.
have been on a bad one as well.
Yeah, but I mean, they dominated at times. I mean, you
Pep under
actually,
P, Peter.
you thought, God almighty, you kidding me? It might be if any of these 115 charges stick, but other than that, listen, you can have those little blips along the way in this tournament. That's the thing about it. You've got those moments where you can have little shocks, and then suddenly. I think the big teams get on a run and think this is the business end of it. It's a novelty for us because every team's thinking, well, this is no longer 2 games at home, 2 games away. It's suddenly you're facing teams, high quality teams early in the season.
We'll see right now who if you were to ask each and both of you, sorry, who's your favourites in it? Who?
To win the Champions League.
Aye.
Celtic.
Man City. Real Madrid. They would be your two favourites at the start.
Yeah,
I'm going to go for Barcelona and Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm going to go for
Fancy
Liverpool.
Barcelona.
You going for Liverpool?
Yeah, I'll go
Fancy
for
Barca. I
Liverpool.
think Barca are back, man.
Barca are back.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
Liverpool.
Yeah. Liverpool and Barca are certainly two at the forefront of it. I cannot believe how disjointed at times Real Madrid look, and that's with Mbappe as
Seen a lot
well.
of goals.
I think Mbappe's alongside Kroos leaving. You realise the real importance of how good a player Toni Kroos was. Him leaving's been massive for me in terms of Real Madrid.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't disagree with you. 4-0 Liverpool defeated by Leverkusen. I didn't see that coming. And remember, of course, Xabi Alonso's one of the hottest coaches across Europe. But when he went back to his old ground, this is what Arne Slot made of that win, 4-0.
I think Tahu's a real good defender and is one of the best defenders in Germany, maybe the best defender in Germany, and he likes to play more against the target man, someone who's there in the middle. And we chose to play Lucio more from the left or to the midfield, and then maybe surprise him afterwards with runs in behind, not only him but in general. And yeah, if you look at the first goal, that paid out. But what a pass from Curtis Jones.
Yeah, great. Diaz with a hat-trick for Liverpool. Of course, we've been talking about some of the results. Elsewhere, PSV 4-0 over Girona. Zagreb beat Bratislava 4-1. Juve and Lille drew. Dortmund beat Sturm Graz 1-0. Real Madrid won.
Must have parked the bus,
Milan 3.
Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Sporting 4, Man City 1. Bologna 0, Monaco 1. And again, we are now at that situation where Olympiacos against Rangers is the Europa League. And we're hoping, over the last 4 or 5 years, Rangers have been able to fly the flag, continually getting those coefficient points. Can they do it against Olympiacos? Kerry Pollock was out at the training.
Rangers are putting in their final preparations ahead of their 4th challenge in the Europa League, this time coming up against last year's Europa Conference League champions Olympiacos. Philippe Clement's men have already gained their place in the Premier Sports Cup final where they'll meet Celtic. However, all attention must turn to a new competition where they'll hope to build on their already earned 6 points, leaving them 11th in the league table. Rangers will be hopeful they can put on positive performances against their next 4 opponents, that being USG, Nice, Manchester United and Spurs, as in this competition, every point and every goal is of the essence. Looking at the hosts in this fixture, Olympiacos, they got their Europa League campaign started off with a defeat at the hands of Lyon, however recovered well with victories over Braga and Malmo, leaving them just a point off the top 8. Some injury and squad news for both sides. Rangers will be without Danilo and Yanis Hadji, through both players not being included in the European squad. This game comes just a little too early for Yilmaz Matondo and Oscar Cortez. As for Olympiacos, they'll be without Willian and Yazisi through injury. However, Italian defender Lorenzo Porola returns to full fitness, and it's expected that El Kaabi will lead the line for the Greek outfit. It's a break from the high pressures of the Scottish Premiership for Philippe Clement's side, but a much improved performance will be the expectation from the Ibrox support. It all takes place this Thursday in Athens at an early kick-off time of 5:45.
5:45, looking forward to it. Olympiacos against Rangers. Let's put this in perspective, Ryan. Olympiacos won the Conference League last season.
It's going to be a difficult game. I think everybody knows that Rangers aren't hitting their straps at all this season, and I think they'll be absolutely delighted if they can get anything from their game. I think it'll be a real difficult one for them, and sometimes these ones are good to play, and if you go on obviously away from Ibrox, sort of backs against the wall, if they can come away with that type of result, it might give them a little bit more fuel to kick on for this season.
Yeah, Philippe Clement mentioned that they don't need to go gung-ho, just need to show a bit of patience.
It's a nice place to go. It's always hot there, not only because of the sun, but also because of the fans. It's a totally different game. It's not a game where you need to be dominant all the time. It's a team with a lot of physical qualities, but also technical qualities, very attacking minded.
Yeah, so I think from that point of view, you're laughing because he said the sun was hot. I think from his point of view, he'll probably again want to try. You can't be heavily critical of Rangers because they just keep producing. In the European games, performances you think, wow, where did that come from? So this is a good side they're facing. This is a side that's won a European trophy. This is a side with a manager who really has set the heather on fire and galvanised Olympiacos.
Yeah, they have. I think obviously winning the Conference League last season, a big upset. Obviously, I think they beat Aston Villa in the semi-final.
Yeah, and Fiorentina in the final.
Where you think, Aston Villa are probably big favourites to win that, and they go and turn them over home and away. So they're obviously a very, very strong outfit. Going to Greece is never an easy place to go. The fans will be crazy. I'm interested to see Rangers' team, to be honest. I think that when you look at the game at the weekend, Hook and Tavernier, Hook and Dessers, who were both poor on the day, do they both come back into the team, or does he play Casemiro? Does he Igamani? It'd be interesting to see the Rangers team, Peter, going into this game. I think there's guys in the Rangers team who aren't playing well at the minute, and the fans are obviously on the captain. I think you've seen that at the weekend. couple of poor crosses into the box. You hear the howls of derision at Hampden and the boos for the captain. So does he bring him back in? It's a big call. But you can never bet against Rangers in Europe. I don't think they're playing particularly well domestically, but in Europe, as you've seen, going away to Malmo and winning, beating Steaua Bucharest at home, they're a different team in Europe. Olympiacos will go and attack Rangers. They'll go and try and get after them, and that suits Rangers, their style of play in Europe. So I think Olympiacos will rightly be favourites to win the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers go there and get a result.
Here's what Greek journalist Steve Conturo told our reporter Blair Malloy about what Rangers can expect.
There's always a lot made when teams from these shores travel to Greece about the perceived hostile atmosphere they'll face. Just talk us through that. What can Rangers expect when they arrive in Athens on Thursday?
Yeah, a very fiery atmosphere. It's going to be a sold-out crowd. I'd be surprised if it isn't. All of our games in Europe, especially lead up to the winning the Conference League and this season too, domestically and in Europe, games have almost certainly been sold out, even for less important fixtures, I should say. In the league. And so, yeah, Rangers fans can expect a very fiery atmosphere in Garaiskagis, a very loud crowd, not just from the Gate 7 Ultras on one side of the pitch, but from a lot of fans, because it's a European night and it's what we live for, to see our team play in European competition every year.
So, as ever, when I think of going to places like Greece and Turkey, I don't know what it is about the fans, but they usually just have a wee chat with each other and they must say, we'll just take a day off and we'll go in there 2 hours before the game's about to start and create the most hostile atmosphere of all time.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody loves when they think of those types of teams and European adventures, is that you want to get one of those teams and be able to experience that. But like we said, Rangers have done well handling these sort of difficult stadiums and difficult hostile crowds. So it'll be another one tomorrow night, but I'm not so confident that they'll be able to get something.
I think rightly so. We obviously speak about Rangers in Europe over the last 45 years. The one positive for me is the Malmo performance. That's been the best performance of the season so far. So I think if they can replicate some sort of that, hopefully get out with a draw, but it's just the inconsistency with Rangers for me in terms of personnel as well. I just find it hard at the moment to say that Rangers are going to go away to Olympiacos and win. Okay, give me your prediction. Olympiacos win.
Yeah, 2-0 Olympiacos.
2-1 Olympiacos.
Yeah, I must admit, I think it sounds real doom and gloom on it. I just can't see them getting a result out there. But stranger things have happened. What do you think? Give us your view on Rangers, the performance at the moment. I know certain fans not happy and made it known at half-time in that game, certainly towards the board and to the players and the manager. 1-0 to Motherwell. And then the second half they came out and it was a different Rangers. Can they produce something that certainly helps Philippe Clement? Because if you were to read everything, you think he was operating on a game-by-game, minute-by-minute on whether he's going to be the manager or not. But give us your thoughts. Can Rangers get a result against Olympiacos over there? Will they get a result? Give us your prediction on that. And your old team Hearts are against a team sitting 12th in the Bundesliga in Heidenheim. We'll hear from Alison McConnell on what's been happening today ahead of that match.
Hearts manager Neil Critchley is wary of underestimating the threat of Bundesliga Heidenheim ahead of tomorrow night's Europa Conference League tie here at Tynecastle. Like Hearts, the German side have had a difficult start to their domestic campaign. They've taken just one win from their last 6 games. However, it's been a fairly positive return so far in the Europa Conference League, where they too have 2 wins out of 2, and Critchley is wary of reading too much into how difficult their start has been in a domestic sense.
Then you'd say they're not in a great moment, but when you watch them play again, I just see the capabilities of the players on the pitch, and we know that they have certain traits. They're very, if you look at their goals conceded record this season, there's not many. They don't concede many goals, and they're very hard to break down, very hard to play against. Quite man-for-man orientated in the way that they press. Very dangerous on the counter-attack, as German teams are, very efficient. And the mentality is very good. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been as successful as they are. And so we know exactly who we're facing, what we're going to need to do.
And Critchley is also keen to use the atmosphere that will be generated inside Tynecastle tomorrow night as he looks to make life as uncomfortable as possible for the visitors.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. We want this to be a hostile, intimidating atmosphere where no one wants to come here and play. Horrible. So Tiny will be on fire Thursday night, and I hope it's not a nice experience for our opponents who are coming in.
Yeah, Tiny will be on fire. It's funny hearing a Manc say that, isn't it? I think he's from...
Do it again, Peter. He's from Manchester.
Laughing, singing, all right. I like to keep the atmosphere going. I don't know. I think to his credit, he's come in. He's only lost one match. He's just starting to get to know what this is all about in here. With regards to the Hearts side, so you never know. But I just think sometimes when we come up against better teams in better leagues, our teams get found out.
Yeah, I think Hearts have been borderline shocking in the league this season. So they have done well in this competition, but I think tomorrow night will be a real test of where they're at. They seem like a team a little bit low on confidence. Saying that, they obviously had a good 2-0 win last time out, and like you said, Tynecastle is a difficult place to play, and if the players start the first 15-20 minutes, crowd can get behind them, they score the first goal, you never know. But I feel like tomorrow night's a big ask, and I think that the Germans will probably run out a comfortable win.
Yeah, comfortable winners?
Yeah, I just... Obviously with Shanklin not playing particularly well, he's playing well, but he's not scoring goals, and I think last season that papered over a lot of the cracks within the Hearts team, and I think you're seeing it this season with him not scoring those goals, that they don't carry that much of a goal threat throughout. Spittle and Forrest have chipped in this season, but you need somebody else that if Shanklin's not scoring, they're going to put another 8-12 goals in a season, and Hearts don't seem to have that, and defensively that they've not been as strong as they were last year as well, which is usually a bad recipe for results. Okay,
you're not going to Edinburgh tomorrow night, are you?
Going to the game, yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh well, you've set yourself up nicely. Good luck.
You're welcome.
I was just about to say to you, I'm going to go.
I thought it'd been positive recently as well.
No, exactly. I'm going to go.
I just can't see him winning tomorrow.
No, I'm going to go Jambos for a draw.
I'm big ask at Bundesliga side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good team they're playing against, and I think tomorrow night, I think it's just that tier too high, and I don't think they'll win.
Yeah, I think they'll be too strong for Hearts.
Yeah.
You want to score with that?
Heidenheim to win comfortably.
Heidenheim.
You said comfortably. Do you go comfortably?
2-0.
3-0.
2-0.
3-0.
Aye, comfortable.
Wow.
Far too good for Hearts.
Right, okay. God, you three are a right barrel of laughs. Okay, I'll go with the Jambos a draw to be utterly
Get through tomorrow for hospitality, no?
optimistic.
Is that how you're going for a draw?
No. We've got somebody else going through to the game. There's not enough hours in the day for me. Okay, with that in mind, European football, we always hope our clubs do well. I really wish I could show you guys some of the acting that's going on for the Christmas adverts with Tam.
Have you seen it online yet?
I've
seen it?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Me and Ruffy are it's like the Pacino and De Niro in Heat.
Yeah,
watched that last week.
I think to be perfectly honest with you, that's overstating it, by a country mile. But it's still, if you want to get yourself some great Christmas presents for somebody you love, or as Ruffy says, somebody you don't, then well worthy of looking at our shop. SPFL fixtures to look forward to at the weekend. There's some tasty games. Of course, interestingly enough, with each of these European games, and when you see it, you start to say to yourself, well, I wonder what Derek McInnes is going to do when Kilmarnock are about to take on Celtic. He was speaking today to Cara Henderson.
It doesn't get much harder for Derek McInnes and his Kilmarnock squad as they welcome the high-flying Celtic on Sunday. Derek McInnes, speaking to the media today, was keen to say that his side aren't intimidated by the Scottish champions visiting and want to use last season's success against them as a tool for victory this weekend.
I think from our point of view, we take confidence for the fact that we have had some good results against them last season. We have got to try and be the best version of us. To get results against Celtic as we did last season, we had to do so much right in the game. We are not daunted by it as we're in the same league. We've got a home fixture against them. It's up to us to go and try and make it difficult for them. But there's no doubt that they're improving, and there's no doubt it's going to be a huge challenge. I do think they present the biggest challenge for all managers in the league.
Derek McInnes also gave an update on his squad, saying that winger Danny Armstrong is a doubt with a hamstring problem and that Stuart Finlay could be out for a number of months with an injury that he picked up at the weekend against Dundee. This is a loss that he says is the equivalent of Celtic losing Cameron Carter-Vickers.
He's got severe ligament damage. We've had him scanned last night. We still get the results of that scan to give us the clear picture, but we're going to be without him for probably, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months. As I said, he's almost been perfect for us. It's the equivalent of Carter Vickers coming out of Celtic team for that team. That's how big an influence he is. You know, you see key players and key positions, but like I say, it's up for others now to go and step in and take on that responsibility that he's shown for us since he came to the club.
So it's a 3 o'clock kick-off then at Rugby Park on Sunday as Kilmarnock look to bounce back from defeat at the weekend against the champions Celtic. Of course, PLZ Soccer will be here, so make sure that you follow all of our social media channels to get all the action and reaction as it happens.
Yeah, thanks to Cara for that. Finley's been good for Kelly this season.
Yeah, big blow for them. I think he's solid at the back. I think Kilmarnock this season have struggled to keep clean sheets, but I think Finley's been excellent, and that's going to be a big blow for them. Going up against a Celtic team who are in rampant form at the minute. You know, it's going to be a very, very big game for Kilmarnock. Big ask for them to get anything out of the game. They'll be hoping that Celtic have maybe a wee bit of fatigue or, you know, tiredness or a bit of come down from the European game. They'll be hoping that they're not at their best, because if Celtic are at their best, then there's only one winner.
Yeah. Any upset there?
No, not for me.
No fallout whatsoever. We've got Dundee United against Ross County, Hibs, St Mirren, Motherwell, St Johnstone. We'll hear from some of these managers later on in the week on PLZ Soccer. There's also Kilmarnock Celtic and Rangers against Hearts on the Sunday, which should be tasty, to say at the very least. Of course, both of those sides European action, and then straight there to Ibrox for the Sunday. Of the games that are there, we're always talking about Philippe Clement and how he has to just keep this ship rolling along and try and stay in contention and close that gap on Aberdeen and of course Celtic. I just wonder, of all the games that we're looking at there, 2 quick questions. Aberdeen against Dundee. Aberdeen, it was a hell of a hammering for them. Is it a blip in the road that many Dons fans are just saying, hey, Celtic can do that to anybody?
Yeah, they'll be hoping that's the case. I think, like what McInnes said, Celtic right now is the biggest challenge for all the teams in Scotland. So I think you can't really base your season on how you get on against Celtic throughout the season, but you know, it will be their sort of first test. There'll be a lot of eyes on them to see how they do bounce back from that result. But I think they've shown enough throughout this season to know that they are a good team, and you know, again, they're at home. Aberdeen fans have been great in terms of home numbers. They always travel well, but I think especially this season they've got right behind the team, and you know, Dundee they're sort of hot and cold a little bit at the moment, but I fully expect Aberdeen to win that game.
Yeah, were you surprised Aberdeen with that thumping?
Yes and no. You know, obviously they played Celtic, I think it was a couple of weeks earlier, and 2-0 down at half time. They showed great resolve to come back in that one, and I felt like they probably thought similar. Obviously when Celtic scored, they thought they'd get back into the game, but I don't think Aberdeen were as bad as the result was. I think it's just more a case of Celtic are that good that they can pretty much do it to anyone in Scotland when they're on that type of form. Yeah,
you missed him when he was here, but Kenny, I think, is now back home. It's another sellout at Pittodrie, he says, for the game against Dundee. He says, I'd rather be second than in the cup final anyway. Celtic will beat them. Kenny was good in here. It was good to see him, and he brought lots of gifts, which is always...
Did they just fly over just for the cup game?
No, I think he was here for a couple of weeks.
He was there for the Rangers game. So he had a high point and a low point, but you know, he brought some lovely gifts over from us from LAFC, which a lot of the guys were very, very grateful for.
Yeah.
But a roughie.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, just because he'd that many that Kenny gave him. And
I had my hat on today, Kenny, at the golf.
Did you?
Yeah, LAFC hat, yep.
Yeah, yeah, and we thank Kenny for that. It was great. Aberdeen fan on, we'll get Rangers, Celtic fans, we're going to get people in here and give them the chance to come in and sit
Hibs
next
fans.
to us. Hibs fans as well, because obviously, just before we go, by the way, is there a column coming out saying the clock is ticking?
No, there's a column coming out about the refereeing decision last week, which I didn't agree with, Peter, but
Yeah.
I'm still...
Neither did he, by the way,
I think
and neither did I.
I think they've got to give the manager a little bit more time, but they need to start winning games, Peter. I think they've won 1 in 11.
Yeah.
They're bottom of the league. Again, the weekend they've got St Mirren at home, they've got to win the game, and now they've got possibly a shortage of strikers. I think Dwight Gale's injured, obviously. Kukurevich is suspended. Will they bring Eli Johan back in, who obviously posted the other day about Instagram about Lee Johnson. So whether he's
strange,
in the bad books, I don't know.
That is
I mean,
so
when
bizarre.
the guys will tell you listen, social media is something that players are entitled to go on. Listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But when you're at a team like a club like Hibs and you're bottom of the league and you're not playing well, just stay off of social media. There's not going to get any advantage from being on social media, and the fans are looking for a fall guy at the minute. They're not happy with everyone. Just stay off it. Do your talking on the park. And Ely might get a chance at the weekend to do that for Hibs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I was at the game. I thought Hibs should have won it out of the park yet again. Just that feeling inside the stadium.
Could you feel it? Could you see the game drifted onto, wasn't it? Could you feel like there was a nervousness around the ground?
I was sitting in the press box looking and saying, "There's a goal coming." For
you genuinely felt that?
I just sat there and I thought there's a goal coming for Dundee United, because I've watched Hibs regularly this season, and they're the only club I know who've managed to replace an inept back four with another inept back four. Can't defend, can't keep anybody out, and it's just...
I don't think that's been a problem, Peter, this season. I think it's goals. The lowest goal scorers in the league, along with Ross County, 10 goals in 11 games. That's something you would never ever associate Hibs with. There always been goals in them, but leaky at the other end.
Yeah, but if you need 2 goals to win a match and you're giving away a goal every game, you put yourself under it. And I just think, I like David. I think he should be given the time. I think he should be given a January transfer window, that's for certain, and help along the way. He's a young manager who, again, the strange thing about it is, and I know nobody's getting time, he'll be a loss to the game, because suddenly you've got a guy who's been a high-profile player, doesn't get the time or the help to try and turn it around. People will be calling for his... If he loses this weekend, not only would they be calling for his head, but the board will be looking at it and saying, we can't afford to go down to the Championship.
I think that most Hibs fans that I know and speak to, the anger's not necessarily at the door of David Gray. I think everyone's under the illusion that he needs more time. I think it's more the anger's at the board and for decisions that have gone against him. But if you look at the grand scheme of things at Hibs, I think it's, they've conceded so many goals in the last 10 minutes or so. If they'd kept those goals out, which again is a different, I think they would be sitting third comfortably.
Yeah.
And that's not down to David Gray. A lot of these.
So how do you change that? As a defender, and you're playing a team and you're leaking goals last 10 minutes.
A lot of it's just individual errors that he can't really do. Like all of the goals that they've conceded in the last 10 minutes is purely down to individual errors, and that's not a coach.
I'll tell you how you change it. You
rid of the players.
You're rid of the players and you get other players in.
You have to wait.
You need to wait January to do
that.
Absolutely,
and that's this window here coming. The group of games that they have. He's somehow got to manage to keep.
He has to weather the storm and get through those. Pick up a couple of results.
And one of the attacking players has got to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, as ever, it's always good with you guys. On a Wednesday, we get a nice wee insight. We started off in unbelievably positive note with everybody waxing lyrical about how great Celtic were, and then slowly but surely...
It's appeared down at the end.
Well, I was just about to say, slowly but surely, the programme just descends into... exactly. So, listen, we give you opinions. Thank you to so many of you for your own opinions as well. We always like a wee noise up with some of the people who come on our our feed. Thank you to every one of you for your opinions. Kenny, who's back now in LA, says thanks for the top. We gave him one of the classic Maestro tops, and he's absolutely delighted with it. It's red. It'll help him when he's playing in the golf. Tam, he doesn't get any better for a Christmas present.
Yep, I think Scott's looking for one as well.
Yeah,
or like the blue one over there.
Yeah, the red, white, and blue one will do an absolute storm for him and Medium, of course. And for Ryan, would you go black? Yeah, black, absolutely. Okay, we'll get you them, and we'll see if you can. By the way, we haven't decided on the Christmas party yet. Right. I just want to know.
We've had a chat about it. We're thinking about Sunday.
We had a Wednesday night. And
we did. We're thinking about it. I mean, it's okay for Tam and I, because Tam's only got the Daily Record Christmas party, which is, a pint of lager and 12 straws. But, what about you, Scott? Will you be able to fit us in?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There'll be the BBC Christmas party, which is an absolute snore fest.
Still came last week, going from job to job.
Yeah.
I mean, see my pals.
What about the Clyde one? Is it a big one?
I'm not here for Clyde tonight. I'm here for Chelsea.
Brilliant.
Looking forward to the Christmas start. I've got it penciled in.
I think it'll be a Sunday, Peter, for the guys.
For the boys, for these two.
It can't really be
Sunday in the horseshoe.
Can't really be midweek for the guys.
Karaoke.
Yeah. Can I just say to you before we leave, if it is in the horseshoe, if you go up and sing, the horseshoe reserve the rights to put it out on TikTok. I'm just saying to you.
If we go to the horseshoe, I'll sing.
And that song is?
No, but I'll sing. I've sang in the horseshoe before. I've got a few.
Oh, have you?
Got a few, aye.
Okay then.
Penny Arcade is.
I left you hanging there.
Brilliant. Anyway, Christmas parties. William Smith says Christmas party. I'll be there, Peter. You're damn right you'll be there, William. You just bring some money with you so we can. Thanks to everyone for their opinions. I hope you enjoy the content. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button from everyone here on the show. Thanks for watching and listening.